to Wholesale Hotline. I'm Brent Daniels.
I'm Jamil Damji.
And I'm Jerry Norton.
And I'm Morby.
Every week we bring you the best information on real estate investing.
Be sure to participate in the comments.
And subscribe.
Enjoy the show!
So thank you so much for calling Wholesale Hotline. That's it. Wow, that's great.
Number 248. My name is Brent Daniels, and Jamil Damji just pulled in. He'll be on screen here in about 2 minutes, and we'll be joined by Morby here shortly. I'm sure he's got some event that he's holding there at his studio. But I wanted to start with this because I think this is really important going into 2025. And that's this. Our income, our earned income is equal to the amount of value we provide to the marketplace, to the community. So really think about that, right? So if we want to, if our goal is to make 100,000 in 2025, 250,000 in 2025, $1 million in 2025, we have to provide that amount in value. So I want you guys in the chat, I want you to participate. That's why we do these live, so that you can participate and be a part of this. But I want you to put in the chat, what are you going to do differently in 2025 to upgrade the amount of service, the amount of value that you're going to provide, right? Because listen, we go out there and we find property owners that want to trade price for speed and convenience. That is what the wholesaling business is. The wholesaling business is people don't have the budget, nor they have the means, nor they have the desire to totally fix up their property and sell it for the most that they can possibly get for it, right? They just want to be done with it, whether they just inherited the property, whether it's been a vacant property for a while, whether it is a property that they live in, but they just can't keep it up anymore. Maybe it's a property that they're behind on their bills because they just can't afford to keep up with the costs of owning that property. So what are you going to do to upgrade your level of value, your level of service in 2025? Put it in the chat. Morby.
What up, brother? How you doing?
How are you, brother?
I'm sick, but I'm good.
Is that your real voice today?
I'm like I've been making agent calls all day long for this challenge I'm on. So I'm like, my voice has been killed.
I love this. So in 2025, how can people get better at working with agents? How can people get better at making offers? How can people get better at effectively communicating? How do we, if our income is equal to the amount of value we provide to the world, how do we upgrade that? That's my word for 2025 is upgrade. I think we should all be upgrading our business in 2025 and really setting a really strong standard. One, because I think the industry is going to require it, but two, so that everybody can take it to the next level and really hit their financial goals that they've been looking at. You know what I mean? So how can we do that, Pace? Hey,
What's up? How are you, brother? Great, how are you? Good to see you.
What up, Jamillionaire? What up?
How you doing, bro?
we're talking about upgrading
really
for 2025.
Just making
upgrading the amount, the value of the service we provide to be able to increase our income. Earned income is equal to the amount of value we provide. How do we upgrade that in the next year? Well, how do we do that as wholesalers?
It's the value proposition to the seller, of course, right?
Okay.
So, you know, we know there's obvious ones like speed, convenience.
Yep.
How about transparency?
Communication.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I hear Pace talk about in his entry into the business was finding the bunnies.
Yeah.
Looking for the problem that you can solve, that only you in your creativity, in your perspective, and the way that you view things can do that, right? Like when he was solving the problem for, it was Janie Munson, right?
Yeah, Janie.
When he was solving the problem for his client, he had a unique perspective because his mom could help with those giant bunny rabbits.
Right.
And if he didn't have that relationship with his mother, if he didn't have the know-how to say, oh, wait, hold on a second, I can do something with these giant bunnies and help without strings attached, without anything that she needed to do for him, it got him the deal.
Sure.
Right. And I think you can take that story and you can extrapolate that into so many different lessons. Right. One that I think that is obvious was that he didn't tie helping her to an outcome, which I think we're doing way too much of anyways. I think the reason why people quit wholesale, the reason why people quit on their dreams, the reason why people quit doing the thing they do is because they don't get the outcome they want. They don't get the outcome they want. And so then the effort that they're putting forward no longer has value to them and they quit.
Right.
Well, what did he get out of helping her with the giant bunnies?
Got the deal.
But he didn't know he was going to get the deal.
Right.
He had no idea. He
was helping out because he knew that he could solve that problem.
That right there is an attitude that's rare.
Right. Well, that's an attitude of service.
It is.
Right.
And that I think is one of the ways that we as wholesalers can completely change the game and uptick and upgrade our approach to people is to walk in with a genuine care of, hey, what's happening here? You didn't get into this situation on accident. What can I possibly do to be of service to you right now, with or without buying your home?
Well, and that's why I think it's really important when you're getting started to have 1,000 conversations with property owners or agents as fast as possible. I truly do, because it's very difficult to increase your value of service if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to solve those problems, if you don't know different offers that you can make based on the situation of those property owners. So you have to get the reps.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people skip that.
Yep.
I think a lot of people hide behind AI or automation or VAs or trying to hire other people that are very interested in real estate and say, hey, you go out and you go find the deals and I'll sell them for you.
Right.
You got to do the work.
You do.
Yeah.
You got to do the work. And you also have to do the work with an enthusiasm that is high and infectious and doesn't seem transactional. Doesn't feel gross.
Yep. Well, it's interesting. You know, I've been working with the Rich Dad company and really getting deep into a lot of the content there and going back to some old school things. And I remember hearing this back in maybe 2002, 2003 in some like CDs or cassettes that I had bought from Rich Dad. And he always said, don't work for money, work to learn. Right? You know what I mean? Like, get into the rhythm of really understanding, you know, how to get better at whatever business that you're in, right? And be able to provide a bigger service in whatever you're trying to accomplish by getting the reps. I don't know a single person in our business that hasn't gone through that like fist fight of a time where they're walking through fire. Their confidence is getting pulled all over the place. They're getting distracted. They're getting disappointed. There's a ton of doubts. And just through just pure work, got through it. What do you think?
I think that's real. I think that's absolutely real. I mean, you know, there's also, you know, I love blending the world of energy and our capacity to make effect in the world without having to kick the door in all the time.
Sure.
And, you know, I do believe, and I feel like I'm being joined by an increasing number of people who feel the same, that you can do a lot for other people by doing something for yourself every single day that puts you in the right space.
Yep.
That puts you in the right headspace, the right heart space, and the right frequency to go out and do something. And starting your day off on the right foot with the right attitude, the right energy, the right practices can be incredibly powerful to your productivity, to your success rate.
Your morning routine?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm from just waking up and having gratitude in your heart. You know, I still get a text from this guy once a month,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more often, just thanking me, Josiah, Nick.
One of the best.
And
if not the best.
He does it without fail.
Right.
Right. And so that tells you he gets up every single day and says, what am I thankful for today?
Mm-hmm.
How many people in a position where you're multimillionaire, you have multiple homes, you've got thousands of doors, and you seemingly have everything that you could possibly want, and you still wake up grateful.
Yeah.
You wake up grateful.
Well, that's the only way you can get those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I watched this great video. It was like an Australian guy, and he was talking to his buddy or somebody on the street. He was doing like street interviews. Right. And he was talking about what would you rather?
Yep.
Would you rather 10 million bucks or to wake up tomorrow? Right.
Wow.
Right. So, I mean, the obvious answer is to wake
10
up
million
tomorrow.
bucks. No,
Right. No, but I mean, but and then he goes, so you're telling me that waking up tomorrow is more important than $10 million. He goes, so why don't you act like it every morning? Why don't you act like you have the opportunity to do something special this day? Or why aren't you grateful for that every single day? And I thought that was very, very, very interesting. Right.
It's real.
And I mean, it's an obvious, like, you know, you're asking a question, you know, the answer to, but I think it gives some interesting perspective.
Sure does.
You know? We all the odds of being alive are like 1 in 400 trillion, right? That your parents met.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
sperm and that egg got together, and then you like were born. I mean, you went through the whole thing and born, right?
Can you imagine if the
odds are ridiculous?
If that other sperm won,
right?
What would life be then? Would he have smaller arms than you?
Well, of course.
Would it be a female?
I mean, is there bigger?
I don't. Who knows?
What are we talking about here? But I mean, it's so one. You know, I think that's huge to wake up with gratitude, with energy. I think you got to move your body around. You got to be. You got to exercise. You got to get going. But I think also you got to just what can you do? How many people can you talk to? How many offers can you make? How many solutions can you provide in a day? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that the quest to figure that out comes from genuine curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we lose that. We've lost as a culture, we've lost our curiosity in so many ways, right? We get everything handed to us in seconds on our telephones. You have a question, there's an answer available. So curiosity isn't a way, isn't really a thing for us any longer. There's not enough time between question and answer to develop genuine curiosity. Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that I think made all of us good at what we do was you were curious. Mm-hmm. How did Derek Jar get paid $50,000 on a deal you made $6,000 on? Yeah. And that curiosity changed your life. Yep. Pace Morby was curious as to how Eileen Brown was able to do these transactions that seemingly required no money, no necessity for financing or a new loan, and was able to collect hundreds of homes for people in this strategy. And so his curiosity led him down the path of creative finance, and he becomes the greatest creative finance investor of our time. Mm-hmm. And for me, the curiosity of wanting to do something outside of the confines of the world and the economics and the socio, geographical place I grew up in, right? And so I think curiosity is big, and it's not really being nurtured in people. It's not really what we're paying attention to or giving value to, but think about it. You know, what can you wake up tomorrow and be curious about? Be curious about that house. Be curious about that person. Be curious about the situation. You'd be surprised where it'll lead you.
Yeah, every day before Bo leaves for school, or I'm walking him to school and I'm at school with him, I ask him, what are you going to be today? And he says, kind, confident, and curious.
Really?
Yeah, and I just pound that every day. Kind, confident, curious. Kind, confident, curious. Kind, confident, curious. And if you relate that to business, if you relate that to the way that you're going to get on a phone and talk to a stranger, if you're going to get on that if you use that when you're having conversations with real estate agents and other investors that are a few steps ahead of you, I think you can't lose. I really don't think that you can lose. Be kind, confident, and curious.
I agree. Curious, Pace, where are you right now? You look to be in a different environment than I see you in normally. You're wearing a different shirt, your hat's beige. Like, what's happening? Are you on safari?
I'm actually in my Mesa home, but I am in Laura's office because I have 40 people in my house running a challenge for 150 teams nationwide.
Gosh.
We put a team challenge together where people, closers, created teams with 10 newbies on every team, and we got 153 teams together. So like 1,500 people in this challenge. And sadly, every other room of my house is full of people making calls to agents right now. So
how dope is that?
It's pretty cool. It actually kind of tees up a really good question right here that I really liked, which was Lucas. He says, I love calling agents, but only for an hour or two every day. How do I get in the zone for longer and not low energy, especially after lunch? I can tell you, Brent gave me this idea. He used to do something called Power Saturdays or something. Super Saturday. And so a lot of what I do now is that if I'm making calls, I do it around other people, and we turn it into a contest of like who can get hung up off on the fastest, which rarely happens, surprisingly, in this business. Like I never get hung up on, but that's always a challenge. We also play fun games like who can get somebody, an agent or a seller, to say, I love you. You come up with fun games and you figure out whoever gets the best of the other people during that 3-hour session has to buy dinner, has to buy lunch. And so, Lucas, it's just like any other business. You never do it alone. You always do it with other people. It makes it a lot easier.
I think also, Lucas, stand up, be in a well-lit room. You know what I mean? But the key is have other people. Absolutely. Be around other. I mean, there's so many Discord groups. There's so many Zooms. I know in my coaching in the Rhino Tribe, we have the open office, the virtual office, the VO, and it's got people in there all day long, making calls all day long. And the people that show up there every day will do a minimum of $250,000 this year.
Yep.
They will.
We got the same thing popping off in the Astro community
from their house.
Yeah, and you know they don't even talk; they're just on a Zoom,
right? Just
watching each other do the thing.
And then sometimes they'll pop in, talk about a call, go through some things, but then all of a sudden they're connecting on mindset. They're connecting outside of the call. I mean, that's the heart and soul of this whole show, and always has been, and the heart and soul of what you and Pace went on the road to go really implement around the country. You guys were like an infection with squat up. Don't do this by yourself. It's not just about going to a seminar and listening to the person on stage. It's what happens in the hallways. Yeah. It's what happens afterwards at the dinners, at the lunches, the connections that you make, the people that you find that are really good at creative, but you're really good at cash. And so you get to collaborate. Squad up. It is. I mean, it's literally hashtag. So I think we've had the same skin on our background here with the hashtag squad up for 5 years.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Right?
And it'll never get old.
Nope. Because it's absolutely critical. It is.
Just, considering the fact that he brought it up, right? Lunch is a problem.
Lunch is a problem. And, when when you think about it, you go to these events, right? You go to an event, nobody wants to speak after lunch. Why? Because everybody's sitting in there farting in their seats. They had a bunch of crap for food, hotel crap for food, and they're low energy. They're not really interested, and they're finding it a little bit uncomfortable and full, and that's just what it feels like. And I think that it's a lot like that in the workplace. I think it's a lot like that for everybody after lunch. Yeah. Now, I don't eat. And my world has kind of changed in that I don't really get hungry, and so I eat one meal, I eat dinner, and that's it. Sure, it works for me, and I'm happy with it. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do or not, but it's like intermittent fasting on steroids. Yeah. But what are your guys' hacks for that? How do you keep
yourselves energized after lunch? Is there specific kinds of foods you're eating? Is there, are you staying away from things? I'd like to hear from both of you guys.
What's that stuff called? Look, oh, cocaine. Yeah. No.
Well played. Well played.
No, well, listen. So I mean, I have 3 days a week. Lunchtime is when I go to the gym. That's when I go and get my workout with the trainer. So I like getting the trainer, then eating right after, and that totally like knocks out that lull and that like energy drop down. Because when you're going and exercising, it's like plugging in, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's getting charged.
So you do.
It's not like I don't do these like exhausting like CrossFit, like gonna like take a nap afterwards type of workouts, right? It's all like party muscle type workouts.
Pilates, yeah.
Well, yeah, stretching is good, by the way. But no, I think that exercising during that time is fantastic. I think if you can push off lunch to a little bit later, I usually don't eat lunch till about 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
and is there
by that point, I'm feeling good.
Do you stay away from carbs or anything like that, or are you just eating whatever?
Not me. I mean, I'll get my protein, and no, I'm not really staying away from too much.
Okay. How about you, Pace? What's your secret? I mean, you're the Energizer Bunny. How do you do it, especially after a meal?
I don't have any downtime. I book my calendar, so there's not a minute on my calendar that's free. Otherwise, my brain will find things to occupy itself with. So I book only things on my calendar I'm excited about. Calling agents, calling sellers, calling private money lenders, talking to people gives me energy. TTP all day long. I'm on that drug called TTP.
That's right. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, that's the other thing, right? If your calendar's filled.
Yeah. And you, with things that make you feel good, that you're excited to do.
Well, and that's why I always did my lead generation in the mornings, right? I would always do it from 9 to noon. I always thought that the mornings were for hunting. The afternoons were for gathering. The mornings were for finding business. The afternoon was for doing business. And so I would set appointments. I would set lead follow-up. I would do all that, but I would start out the day calling somebody that I already knew, right? I would call a lead that was hot. I'd call a lead that was, I knew it would be a good conversation,
closest to the money
but also just to warm up. You know what I mean? Like sometimes your first call, you call somebody you don't know, they scream at you, or they're mean, or they're rude, or whatever else. And you're kind of like, oh man, is this going to be the day? Whoopity boop, right? If you call somebody that you know, and they're going to be a good conversation, it helps you warm up. So I think that's great.
That's a great hack. Yep.
Yeah. And then in that, I think that once you get really into it, when you were calling agents and texting agents and going and prospecting as you were building your business up, post coming here from LA, there's a high that you get when you get into the zone, right? When you find a good lead, when you find a good opportunity, you're like, oh my gosh, this is working. And when you have that, it lifts you up big time.
Absolutely. And I mean, I just recently was doing a live stream where I was trying to sell a deal. I got on the phone, and in 10 minutes, I sold a deal. I didn't know who I was going to be talking to.
Yeah.
I had a good deal to sell, but I was trying to test out this platform, and I was getting energized more and more after every call. And by the time I ended up selling it, I felt like I was an 11 out of 10.
Right.
In terms of my energy level.
Oh yeah.
And so that it is a compound effect, and there's momentum that gains from that. And that's a lot of fun.
Yep. What do you think of this?
Oh my goodness. My opinion on it may be different from other people. I'm not going to bash her. I have no desire to bash Nicole. Do you
want to explain?
Yeah. So, for those who, the question is, what happened to the short sale queen? What are our thoughts? And, these events host different speakers, and I've had Nicole on my YouTube channel before. I actually did a video once where she challenged me, where I had said, I had reported on an individual who went to prison for 17 years for wholesaling a short sale. And she challenged me that you can wholesale short sales. And I said, I don't know that it's legal or possible, so would love to chat with you about it. And it was funny because it was just a year ago, because she came down when I was still in my neck brace from breaking my neck again.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation, and I thought I stood corrected in what, you know, the opinion was, or what, because I'm not a short sale expert. And so I don't know what is like good or not good, or what you can or can't do. I just remember when I worked in buying short sales, when the market was rebounding in 2012 to 2015, there was a lot of short sales.
Oh yeah.
And I remember they changed very quickly. There was a time where you could wholesale short sales. Then they kiboshed it and they said, no, you need to hold these properties for 30, 60, 90 days. So they put deed restrictions on there.
6 months.
So wholesaling the short sale wasn't possible any longer. So you had to buy, close, and then resell. Some people were skating that by buying or contracting the short sale in an LLC, and then they were selling the LLC. I always felt like if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't like that model. I felt like that looks like you're averting, you're trying to do something that is illegal, and you're using this mechanism to do it, right? So is selling the LLC legal? No. Is it illegal? No. But do I think that if it was under scrutiny that they would question it? I think so.
Of course.
And so for me, I just thought better not to do it. I'll just buy the properties, close on them, hold them, wait for the deed restriction, and then sell them. And I wasn't allowed to sell them for more than 120% of the price that I purchased it at.
Yeah.
So there were all these rules, right? That's not why I think she got indicted.
Mm-mm.
I think she got indicted because she did a common practice for people who work in pre-foreclosures. And I'm going to call it out because it's a common practice.
Yeah.
And it's a way that people postpone a foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And they postpone a foreclosure by submitting a purchase and sale agreement, and not necessarily for the buyer that's ultimately going to close on the deal.
Right.
And so they postpone the foreclosure, and then they go out and they get the short sale approved, and then they find an appropriate buyer for the property. And many people have postponed foreclosures using that process. I have not done it because I don't work pre-foreclosures or foreclosures. I'm an agent guy. So thankfully I never got myself in that situation, but it's been done by people, and, you know, by good people. And when you think about it, the reality is that the people that she was helping were facing foreclosure.
That's the other side of this thing.
Yeah. She was just using a method that wasn't real, because she didn't the purchase and sale agreement that she was submitting wasn't a true purchase sale agreement. So when the authorities looked at it, they said, hold on, we've got 100 or so transactions here. Every transaction's being postponed by using one of 4 companies.
Mm-hmm.
And then none of these companies ultimately buy the property.
Well, you explain just so everybody understands. So the timeline's getting real short before they're going to auction.
Yeah, they're going to auction it in like
you
2 days. So you submit a PSA, purchase and sale agreement to the lender,
trustee or the
lender,
the court or
yeah,
whatever.
and you say, hey, this property is going.
It's under contract.
It's under contract.
Yeah,
because the homeowner prior to that had ducked their head in the sand. Right. And so finally the head's out. They're like, what am I going to do? And then somebody comes in to try to save the day, and they submit the purchase and sale agreement
to
to
get the auction postponed.
Auction postponed.
Right.
And that is where the problem happened.
Pace, Laura does a lot of getting auctions postponed. What's the right way and what's the wrong way here to be able to do this?
First and foremost, you need to be using real buyers and real purchase contracts. What she was doing is and I'm just going to give her some leeway here. I'm going to assume that she was doing so many of these that she did not want to bother with like going back and doing the paperwork. Guys, the paperwork takes a long time and it is challenging. And if you go back and watch RJ Bates live on YouTube, I'm not telling you anything has not been said by somebody else, so I'm not ratting anybody out.
Yep.
But RJ mentioned, if I'm quoting him correctly, that she was using his proof of funds that he provided to her on a house he was going to actually buy. She then started taking his proof of funds and editing it every time she needed it without asking him, and she would edit it And it was very obvious she was using different typography and different size fonts when she did edit it. And so she was not just doing that with his proof of funds, she was also doing that with a purchase and sale agreement, is that she was halting auctions with straw buyer meaning a buyer that did not exist, a scarecrow buyer. It looked real, but it wasn't real. What my wife does is my wife will not postpone a foreclosure unless there's a legitimate contract and that contract has already opened escrow with earnest money. So she's not rushing down there and stopping foreclosures unless the buyers actually put up earnest money. So when my wife calls the trustee and my wife calls the loss mitigation department, my wife is saying, we are already opened escrow with such and such title company. The earnest money has already been deposited, and here's a copy of the purchase and sale agreement. We are in the process of pulling a title report. We need more time to finish this transaction.
Yep.
So she's not just taking a purchase agreement off the shelf, blowing the dust off, changing the facts and figures and submitting it to get a postponement.
No, she's putting in a real buyer.
Right.
Now the reality is that there's going to be a ton of dominoes here, right? Because the real question is how often does the first purchase and sale agreement, even if escrow gets open, how often is that the closing entity?
Right.
And I think that's where, of
and
course,
the price, they're going to get it. They're going to do a BPO. They're going to do appraisal.
Here's the other part, right? So I've provided proof of funds to community members before.
Yep.
And you know how many times I've gotten a call from a real estate agent, and we input everyone that we issue.
Yeah.
Because we have to track. We need to know what's going on here. So I'll get a call or I get a text message or an email from an agent saying, "Hey, I have this specific buyer who's looking to purchase this home. Can you verify this?" So we'll go into our system and look.
Yeah.
And bro, 6 out of 10 times, these knuckleheads are photoshopping my proof of funds.
Right.
6 out of 10 times, it's the people who are coming to me for a proof of funds are photoshopping my proof of funds because they're too freaking lazy or they don't want to have to reprocess it again, whatever the reason is. They're photoshopping the proof. So what do I do? F it. Yeah. I'm not doing it.
Yep.
Why should I put myself out there and be helpful when people are going to be that blatant, that lazy, cheap, all of the things.
Yeah.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm shocked at it. I'm shocked at just the brazenness of some folks to just go ahead and do that.
So why are they going after her? Like why?
I think
who's
they're making an example out of her because they know that this is going on. What I understand is that one of the prosecuting attorneys joined one of her mentorship calls to extrapolate data and watched her educate her students on how to do this. And she mentioned on a live call, this is my understanding. I don't know this for sure, so please do not quote me. This is just what I understand, is that they saw people starting to do this more and more in Texas. They caught one of her students doing something similar. The student then ratted her out and said, "Well, I learned how to do it from this girl." The attorney then joined her mentorship or her live call or her school community or whatever and paid for it as a client so that he could aggregate the information, and caught her teaching people, well, we'll find a buyer after we stop the foreclosure. That's not important. Having a legitimate buyer is not important. We are the most important thing. And I think Nicole, in her own, to justify her, I think she's, in her mind, she's not wrong. She's saying the bank is the bad bank that's foreclosing on these people, and it's my job to help them. And if they have a short time frame, I got to do what I got to do to help these sellers. So I'm sure in Nicole's mind, as she's sitting in a prison cell right now, she is probably saying, people don't understand I've helped all these sellers. And you know what? She has. It's just that she went about it the wrong way. And so the reality is she is being made an example out of because she was teaching people how to do it. And she was the domino that created a lot of other people that are doing the same thing.
It's sad. It sucks. It really does, you know, and it's a big lesson to the entire industry. And, you know, dot your I's, cross your T's, be diligent, be and be ethical. Like, you know what? If you're finding yourself in Adobe Photoshop for any reason in the middle of a real estate transaction, what are you doing?
Place. You are in the wrong
What
place.
are you doing?
Yeah. Any risk for wholesaling? Do you see anything that people are doing?
Well, I think
that's not correct.
I think that
could catch them up
where
in something
where
that's
there
similar.
are wholesale regulations and you're blatantly doing what you can to try to skirt it.
Yeah,
I think that they're eventually going to get knocked there.
right.
I think that if you're marketing contracts in South Carolina before you close the property, there's somebody is going to be made an example of. I feel like if you are doing the things that are in direct opposition to the regulations and the rules and the laws that are being set forth in whatever state, that they will make examples of people all across the country for that kind of thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, the biggest arrests have come around short sales and messing with the financial institutions.
Yeah, look, anytime you're dealing with a federally insured or a federally backed entity, which is what, when you look at all the people, when you look at the entities that were involved in her indictment, it was FFHA, it was the VA, it was the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
There's a government-backed loans.
That's it. If you see, they were all government-backed financial institutions. Right. And so they looked at it and said, because why? If you guys didn't know this, mortgage insurance is in place on FHA loans to make whole the financial institution
PMI
for a default, a short sale, or some loss in a mortgage. So who was actually holding the bag on that? Was it the bank? Bank was going to be made whole. This is a federally insured mortgage. What does that mean? Who's the actual person what's the entity that's going to pay the
insurance?
It's the insurance. And who owns the insurance? The government, the federal government.
Yep.
So you're not robbing the bank. You're actually putting the federal government in a loss situation. And they are going to look at it and all of their ways to say, wait, hold on. Who did what?
Yeah.
And if this, when you look at it for the amount of commissions that were made in these transactions,
380.
My God, bro. Like, are you kidding me?
We're closing that this
peanuts.
month.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Pace?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I feel like I'd love to have a conversation with her. I had my attorney, Sean Clemenson. I have a Texas attorney, super smart guy. We planned on doing a training for everybody, my free Facebook group, YouTube, everybody. Like, we were going to do a broadcast as he was going to explain what she did incorrectly and what she should have been doing and effectively accomplishing the same thing. And I got sick over the weekend, as you guys can hear by my voice, so I wasn't able to complete the training. But I plan on bringing Sean Clemenson. Maybe we can bring him to Wholesale Hotline in a couple of weeks and talk about it when we know a little bit more. One thing I do want to say is next week I have Tom Bilyeu that wants to do a live with us. If you guys want me to bring him on Wholesale Hotline, I'm wondering if that's a good idea.
Hold on 1 second, Pace. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Holy moly! Bobby! Wow!
Happy birthday to you.
Wow.
Hey! Wow! Thanks, guys. You guys look crazy. Hi. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I got 2 girls. Hi, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, guys. How cool is that? Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is sweet. What a surprise. Thank you, guys.
It's your favorite cake.
Hi, Pace.
Yo, what up, handsome?
Happy birthday to you too, Pace.
Wow, everybody looks like Jamil. This is freaking great.
I love it. Guys, participate. Put a happy birthday in the chat. If Jamil has impacted your life, make sure that you give him some love. We've got a giant strawberry shortcake here, and he says he only eats one meal a day. So here it is. So we're gonna sit here for the next 50 minutes and watch him eat the whole entire thing.
That was awesome. Yeah, please.
Oh.
Look at this.
Or do you want me to show off my guns?
Hilarious.
That's awesome.
Beautiful. Good job.
Thank you. What a surprise. Thank you, guys.
Look at all the love.
My goodness.
Hey, Jamil,
Thank you.
can we have you tell us a birthday story about how you came to Arizona on 12/12/12?
Yeah, I can. Wow, that was very, very surprising and fun. Thank you. Did you know that?
I did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing. Okay. All right. So I moved to Arizona on my birthday, actually, December 12th. It's not my birthday today. My birthday's in like 3 days.
Yep.
And it was actually my golden birthday. It was 12/12/12. I was living in Los Angeles, and I had just gotten engaged, and I was not going to be able to support a family as a out-of-work comedian. And I had just wholesaled a property in Arizona, actually 2 of them, to Tim Wynn. And I made $18,000 putting an ad in Craigslist and flipping a contract.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I have no business staying in this town, especially with the fact that I'm about to get married. I got to go and do something for my future family.
Yeah.
So my sister came to LA, and we packed up a U-Haul. And on 12/12/12, we were driving down the 10 freeway heading towards Arizona in a dust storm. Actually, it was terribly scary. It was the first dust storm I'd ever seen. And it was the greatest day of my life, because although I was thinking I was leaving my dreams of fame and fortune as a comedian, I ended up embarking on one of the greatest adventures of my life. And I have the best friends I could ever want. I have an incredible business. Our family's thriving. I have all these incredible human beings that showed up to give me a delicious cake, and they all have knuckle tattoos as well, which is hilarious. You guys are so funny.
Those better be real.
What a cool thing. This is, and you know, the truth is when I was on my way here, I had no idea. I had no clue what was coming. I didn't know if we would succeed. I didn't know if it was going to be the best move of my life or the worst move of my life. It was hot here, you know, amongst other things. I really wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I did know that nothing was going to happen if I stayed where I was. And it was that leap of faith that I think made a huge impact in my life. And grateful to have been able to connect to you guys and the rest of everyone else here, and all of you out there as well who care so much to even wish me happy birthday. It means a lot.
Well, we love you.
I love you
Happy
too.
birthday.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome. So what'd you do when you got here? So you're coming out here. It's unknown. You got 18 grand, probably less in your pocket.
Yeah. I got to work.
Yeah. What does that mean though?
I was doing agent outreach.
Okay.
I was, on the phones, calling agents, making connections, visiting properties. I was doing the damn thing, and I was doing it well. I remember Tim and I, especially at this time, this is pre deed restriction funny enough, we're talking short sales, pre-deed restriction short sale time.
Yeah.
And you had to fill out these contracts, and so DocuSign wasn't a thing yet.
I know.
Think of this, guys. So do you know what we did? We had a printer in the back of my Mercedes.
Yeah.
And we would connect our phone and we'd print PDFs, sign them, and then we had a little scanner right beside, and we'd scan in a car, dude, in the back of a minivan.
Yeah.
And that's how we would. And I had stacks and stacks and stacks of purchase and sale agreements because we would write so many offers. Of course, very few of them got accepted.
Yeah.
But that was what it was back then. Just handwriting contracts, scanning them, doing the fax machines. We're still using fax machines.
Yep.
It was wild. It was so
And
crazy.
so you were just seeing properties that were listed on the MLS and making offers?
Yeah. So a lot of these short sales, believe it or not, would sit on the MLS at ridiculously low prices and nothing would happen.
Well, people have to understand, from 2009 to 2012, it was a 70% drop in some areas here in Phoenix. I mean, big time. I mean, not all the areas. Some of the areas only went 50%, 40%, but some of the other areas went 70%. So it was literally the whole market was deals.
Yeah.
The whole entire market was
even more. So Rahima and I bought condos in one building over here in the Melrose district.
Yep.
4350 North Fifth Avenue. Beautiful building built by the guy who invented Rain-X. You familiar with Rain-X?
Yeah, sure.
The stuff you spray on a windshield and it deflects water.
Yeah.
So this inventor decides to become a real estate developer, and like everyone else who was in that time, right? Hairdressers, firemen, and inventors. They were all real estate developers. And he builds this beautiful, like, 50-unit building, and they were selling these units off for like $400,000. We bought the ones that we owned for between $20,000 and $26,000.
Right.
They went from $400,000 to like $20,000 to $26,000. And the weird thing about them, well, not weird, but they were still renting for $700-800 a month. So just think about that back then. And people were telling us we're crazy for investing in real estate. Like, you guys are crazy. It's like, how are we crazy? This thing rents for $800 a month. It's $20,000. Where do I get a return like that? Even if I'm crazy, okay, even if this is like the stupidest thing I could possibly be doing. I don't have a vehicle right now that gets me $800 for a $20,000 investment. Nothing exists in the world like that. And then I thought, okay, well, if it burnt down and I'm insured, I'd still, not that I'd burn them down, guys. Stop looking at me like that. But if it burnt down, the replacement value on this would still be greater than what my investment is.
Sure.
And so we just thought this makes a ton of sense. And it did. It was the greatest thing we could have ever done.
So did you buy him cash?
Yeah.
How did you have the cash?
Rahima.
Yeah.
She had, she bailed us out. Like, while I was in LA doing my comedy thing, my sister was like knee deep in poop.
Yeah.
In our buildings. And my sister and I bought these two buildings for my dad as a joke for his birthday in the worst neighborhood in all of Canada.
Yeah.
Not kidding. It was in the worst neighborhood at all. It was in north central Regina, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Like this, it's like you don't go to.
Sounds like
place.
you don't go there. Yeah.
You don't go here. You just don't go here. It's like, unless you want heroin,
right?
You don't, or AIDS. Like, you don't. They're plentiful. Both are plentiful there. So you don't go there unless you want that. And we just bought these two buildings for Dad as like, hey, Dad, happy birthday. Like, we're total jerk kids, right? And he doesn't even understand what they are. He's like, thanks, guys. This is great. I could have used a chocolate bar instead, but whatever. After everything had gotten destroyed, when we lost all of it, funny enough, those properties that we bought Dad were in a different LLC in his name in another province. And so they were exempt from our losses.
There
They
you
were
go.
the only two things left.
Yeah.
And so she said, I'm going to go and see what I can do to make something of these guys. And she did. She went and she unit by unit fixed them, created relationships with the Canadian government, turned them into like sober housing. And she unit by unit fixed them all up and then sold the buildings. And we ended up with we walked with like $900 and something thousand out of that. She almost made $1 million.
What'd you buy them for?
200.
200 total.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we ended up with and there was more than that, but we had lived as well. Right. So we ended up with this big cash balance of like $950,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the money that we used to start buying investments in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And that was the game changer.
And what else did you buy?
We bought mainly condominiums, a couple of houses, but mainly condos because they were the
during
cash flow,
the downturn,
right at the bottom. And the cash flow was insane for us at the time. Yeah. Yeah, at that time the Canadian dollar was worth more than the US dollar, which was also wild, right?
Yeah.
So like you take the Canadian monopoly money and it was worth real money here.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a real trip, and she definitely saved our butts. And
So you came out as a buyer, but then you also were wholesaling.
well, that's
Where
what
did
led.
that come
That's
about?
what led to wholesaling.
Yeah.
Because I had we had that cash to buy these specific properties, ones that were going to cash flow for us, and we were in the beginning of the short sale days,
Mm-hmm.
and so we had the money. We started writing offers on short sales. That's what got us into writing offers on short sales. That's why I had those 2 contracts that I sold to Tim Wynn that made me the $18,000. I would have never even been in the situation to be writing those contracts if that wasn't the case.
Right.
And so it was this natural unfolding of here
So
we
you're
are.
thinking we're going to just go, it's real estate's great deals. We're going to flip these. We're going to keep these. Like, what were you doing for active income? How were you living?
We were keeping them at the time.
Right.
And living off the rent, very little,
Okay.
and we owned units that we were living in. So we didn't have mortgages. We didn't have to really come up with a lot. And we lived really tight. I mean, we all lived together. And
How many people?
All of us.
How many people was it?
Mom, dad, niece, Rahima, cat, dog, her on and off husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She married him twice.
Well,
Same dude.
there you go.
Yeah.
You still married? Yeah.
No. He's asking the questions. I'm just telling the truth. Is what it is. Yeah.
So then you guys are living off of the rent that you have, and then you figure, wait, I can actually sell these purchase agreements of deals that we could close on and they'd be good, but somebody else wants to pay me for them.
Correct.
So that's where the active income.
Yeah,
came
because
in.
the 2 that we ended up wholesaling to Tim, we actually didn't at that time, because you didn't know when things were gonna get approved or not. That was the thing with short sales. You could write 100 short sale offers and 6 of them would get approved.
Right.
So you had to just write a bunch of offers.
Do you think that was kind of just to kind of tie it back into what happened with Nicole? Do you think that was kind of her thought, was like, just people make so many offers on these that it's not going to really trigger the financial departments, because they're just going to figure that I have a investor that wants to buy these pre-foreclosures and then I'll be good?
I think that she very likely looked at it from the perspective of, I'm not hurting anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm helping somebody stall a foreclosure who's in a desperate time. And so she justified it because she did not see that there was any victim.
Right.
And that's not true. If you were to ask RJ, he would tell you he's a victim.
Right.
He had the windbreakers come to his office and they turned his life upside down for a number of months looking for documents. Right. So he was victimized. She didn't submit the right documents. She was, cutting and pasting and doing, the things. And so at the end of the day, and the federal government, was definitely a victim in this. Right now, here's the other question. They claimed a bunch of losses.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I would imagine that that's the deficiency between what the home short sold for and what was owed on the mortgage.
Sure.
Okay. But what if they foreclosed?
Right.
Would the loss not have been greater? Is a honest question that I think her defense attorney has to really put forth towards the court to say, would the loss have been greater had these gone to foreclosure? Would the lender have been able to have the wherewithal to be the asset manager of this property, or would they have taken an even greater loss, having taken the property back, not having the departments to deal with these properties, and then having to disposition them at cut rate prices?
Yeah.
I don't know what would have been. Why is a bank more likely to do a short sale than a foreclosure? Because it costs them less money. So we already know what the real answer is. We already know they lose less in a short sale. So if they lose less in a short sale, then was it an actual loss? And I think that fraud has two pieces to it. One is an intent to deceive, which we know she did.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is loss. And so if her defense attorney is good, if she gets a good Johnny Cochran up in that thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they can prove that actually there wasn't a loss, that there was a net gain to the lender in this, I think she gets a slap on the wrist and she lives to see another day.
Yeah.
Just my opinion on it.
Yeah. I was watching RJ Bates' breakdown of this because I knew they had the TV show together.
Yeah.
Right. And they had they're in the same area. They're in Texas. Maybe not the exact same area, but at least they were really close. And I was watching the comments, and there's some comments in there that's like, oh yeah, here's now they're going to be coming after the wholesalers next. It's about time. One, why would somebody have that sentiment? And two, what are they talking about?
Listen, anytime somebody looks at somebody doing something that they're gaining from that they can't do, they can't wait for that person to fall on their face. It's human nature. It's human nature.
It's
dude.
gross.
Why is it's
so
really
gross.
it's crabs in a bucket mentality.
It is,
It's
weird energy to put out there.
Super, super strange energy. How many people, if you look at the comment, how many people are just ready to just whip their pants out and urinate on somebody when they're down is just out of control.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely out of control. And it's not cool. I'm not here to do it. I'm not gonna speak negatively about her. I wish her luck in her.
Well, to me, I just feel like we've been doing this since over 20 years, right?
Yep.
And we went through the 2008, 2009. We saw what people were doing in those times where they thought was very innocent. They're just trying to help. The process is moving fast. And then all of a sudden they get caught up in something. So from that day on, I was like, I'm not messing with short sales. I'm not messing with anything that, I mean, do not. And we've talked about it, and we've kind of gone back and forth, you and I, on the fact, can you actually wholesale short sales?
Yeah.
Because you were getting advice from some of these other people that you can.
Yeah.
And that's not even what we're talking about with this, but I was like, you just stay away from it. You got deed restrictions. The bank's not going to approve the settlement statement. So you have to do something goofy in there. Either the title company's involved in it, or you're trying to pull something fast by do some sort of loophole that's going to make sense, but it's never going to make sense long-term if $1 is missing from what the federal government thinks that they should have.
Here's a piece, and Sharon in the comments said, I've wholesaled a short sale before, and it's not the short sale, it's the fraud. Sharon, I want to challenge that. Because ultimately, when you're wholesaling a short sale, you're changing the buyer out, which is what they said was the problem with Nicole, on top of the forged documents. The fact that the same buyer who was postponing the foreclosure wasn't closing on the property after the fact. That's the issue, because she was using a straw buyer to pause it, and then the real buyer was coming in a little while later.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they caused. So no, short selling it isn't okay, apparently, because
Wholesaling a short
sale isn't okay, because if you're using the original buyer, who is you, to postpone the foreclosure, and then you're selling your interest in that, and that's not the entity closing, the federal government apparently has a problem with that. So it's not legal. It's not.
Well, also it's on on the person that's negotiating the short sale to show what the current market value is of the property based on putting it on the open market and getting as many offers as possible. Buyers determine value.
Correct.
And so when there's a situation where you see a listing agent have a short sale, accept an offer day one of that property being listed or day zero from like a pocket buyer, there's some big problems there.
Absolutely.
Because essentially what you're doing is you're saying this is the best price that we can get for this. That's why you have to take a loss on this bank, which is federally insured. And then they go, wait a second, somebody's making money selling the right to purchase it. So is it worth more to this person than it is to that person? Right?
Absolutely. And not insinuating at all, Sharon, that you weren't transparent and that the bank wasn't aware. I'm 100% in agreement with you. And I don't think you've done anything wrong. I'm not even saying you did. I'm just calling out the reality that in the indictment, it was made a fact. It was part of the statement of complaint that the buyers who were pausing the foreclosures were not the buyers who ended up ultimately closing on the properties, and the federal government took issue with that.
Yep.
And so that right there in that verbiage, it's hairy.
What about wholesalers that are submitting offers to property owners and or agents with proof of funds that they just downloaded?
Depends on what the relationship is between the individual and the first is the proof of funds backed by actual money.
Let's say it is.
Then I don't see an issue with it.
What if they've never had a conversation with the bank?
I mean, I've gotten lender pre-quals and I've just talked to a rep. I've gone onto their website and filled in an address and a name, and I've been emailed a pre-qual many times. It's how hard money lenders work.
Right.
So I don't know.
Educate on that, because I think it's really important. If you're going to be putting a offer on a property, you have to have the ability to close.
Correct. Which means that the lender whose proof of funds you're using has to be capitalized.
Right.
Don't just make a document that has a logo on it with a fake lender name and put an amount of money on that. That's garbage. That's not, and don't take a proof of funds that somebody has issued for you and may not be valid any longer because 30 days have passed or an address has changed, and then you just Photoshop it like you did on my proof of funds, knuckleheads, right? That you can't do that, right? But actually going to the company and saying, hey, I need a proof of funds, good for 30 days. I'm going to be trying to make a purchase in the amount of $500K or less. And hard money lenders, transactional funders, they will issue a proof of funds in that circumstance, and they are in their rights to do so.
Yep.
At least to my knowledge, that seems to be a completely okay thing to do. Real estate agents and their brokers are accepting them. I have not seen any issues with that. As long as the money is in the bank, as long as that is it's backed by real funds, I can't see the issue. Now, if it's not backed by real funds, then it's not even toilet paper.
Is there anything to be said on somebody that only assigns and they never buy? That's the argument I'm getting from agents. That's the flip side that I see. They go, people are claiming that they are cash buyers that never close on deals. They're 100% only assign every single time. They have no interest, nor they plan on actually buying these properties, and it's bad for the industry.
Don't know.
That's the comments.
Yeah.
That's the comments coming from realtors, right? That's what's stopping realtors from becoming wholesalers, I think, is they're like, well, I don't have the money in my account. And then you say, Google transactional funding, Google the hard money lenders, go have a conversation at a real estate investor meetup and go talk to the hard money lenders and see what they're looking at when it comes to what they're willing to risk their money on. Right.
I think that in the contract, and here's the other piece.
Yes.
When you write and or assigns, in the contract, then it doesn't matter who's closing on the contract. Even if 100% of the time it's assigned, because in the contract it's stated and or assigned.
What if it's in the contract that you have the right to assign?
100%.
Yeah.
And then I don't think that assigning 100% of the time is a problem, because you've put it in the contract. It's in the disclosure. I will assign this if given the chance. And if it's in the contract and you stated it, then there's no deception. So I can't see an issue with that.
And would you add that to a realtor contract if it's not already in there? Because I don't
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I absolutely
What's
would.
the phrase that you have a great
Buyer
guys?
is,
you guys gotta, will you do this slow so people can, somebody write this in the chat so it can live forever, because this is so important and brilliant and used by the top wholesalers and investors. Go ahead.
I write the following phrase on my contracts, and it's been approved by our incredible title company, Fidelity. They had to legal check it to make sure that it crossed all of the barrier, all of the things that it needed to in order for it to hold up in court. Buyer is an entity in the state of Arizona in the business of buying and selling real estate for a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Buyer may elect to, at buyer's sole discretion, choose to fix to flip property, buy to hold property, or assign contract at buyer's sole discretion.
One more time.
Buyer
in Spanish
is an entity in Arizona in the business of buying and selling real estate for a profit.
Yep.
Buyer may choose to fix to flip the property, buy to hold, and or assign the contract at buyer's sole discretion. You write that disclosure statement on your contracts, and now you have absolutely absolved yourself of any inkling of ambiguity.
Yeah.
Or
you got to disclose
or nonsense, because it's right there. It's written in plain English or Spanish, as Brent would like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. There you go. We got some deep topics there, but that was what was popping up when I was watching those videos and seeing the comments, and then some interesting people that we know that you know well posted early about it and was really slamming it and saying that they're coming for the Arizona gurus next and all these other things, and it's just really interesting that you're right. It's the crabs in the bucket, and I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. But gosh, man, if people put their energy towards actually having conversations and making offers and solving the problems of property owners, they'd be a lot happier, I think.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yep. And it's again, it's just sad. It's sad to see how fast people will run to negativity. You know, it's like moths to a flame sometimes. And it's just like, oh, I'm so happy it's not me. And look, I'll be straight, okay, about this, because I was watching some Diddy news.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah. Because I hate that guy. But
why?
Because he killed Tupac, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I got beef, you know, but so I can understand kind of like feeling good about somebody feeling bad.
Yeah.
I get it. I do. But only when it's Diddy. Otherwise, everything else is off limits, in my opinion. I've even had to stop myself from indulging in the negativity of that situation as well, because it's still negative and it's still leaving a residue in my brain. It's still leaving a residue on my heart. It's still leaving residue on my soul, and it's unnecessary. Like it or not, everybody, regardless of the crimes and the things that they do in this world, is God's kid.
Mm-hmm.
And
1 in 400 trillion.
It's not my job to judge.
Yeah.
That's it.
I really think in 2025, people should get their real estate license. What do you think?
I think so.
Why?
I've always been an advocate for that.
You have been.
I truly think that having a real estate license is the way you level yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
when you make a phone call to a real estate agent and you introduce yourself as a licensed agent, you're immediately leveled up to their status.
I was saying this on my live show.
You know, like if I call Brent and I'm like, hey, Brent, it's Jamil from Remax. You're like, hey, it's Brent from Norton Co.
Yeah.
Or whatever. EXP. Yeah. Whatever. Brent at Real. Great. Hey, nice badge. I like your badge too. Anyways, what about this house you got? Talk to me about it. And so it's a way to create alignment with a real estate agent. And when you have things of like nature, they tend to want to work together. They like to coalesce with each other. And so I think it reduces friction. I think it also gives you a good class on ethics, in all honesty. I mean, they're not teaching you how to comp in real estate school, but they're going to teach you how not to go to prison. And it seems
that's
as
interesting
though
because Jack's saying
it seems as though that's something that we need to learn in 2025, isn't it?
Do you think that getting your license opens you up to more lawsuits than if you don't?
I don't think it opens you up to more lawsuits. I think that it should stop you from having lawsuits because you don't do dumb stuff.
Can you come up here? Yeah, come here. Yeah. So we got an expert on all things real estate.
Hi,
a
Dina Jones.
In the real estate world here in Arizona. Come around. Come in the middle.
It's meal today, though.
Yeah.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself and let everybody know your background a little bit.
Hi, guys. I'm Dina. You could probably see me on Title Talk with Jamil.
Yes.
Awesome.
And I've been at Fidelity 10 years. I was a customer for about 10 before that. So I understand what it's like to be on both sides.
And so what do you think? Do you think that there's more lawsuits with people that don't have a license versus do? You've got your ear to the ground. What do you think?
I think there's a different standard that you're held to when you have a license,
Okay.
right? So it does potentially open you up to additional liability, but it also provides you an outlet for really valuable education.
What if you're only representing yourself?
Then that's a matter of disclosure.
Right.
You know, so you'd be adding a sentence to that contract.
Yeah. Buyer holds an active real estate license in the state of Arizona. I mean, that's really the disclosure that's necessary.
Like for Arizona, you know, it just depends on, are you falling under the Attorney General's umbrella or are you falling under the real estate commissioners or both?
Because Attorney General is more investor.
Correct.
The-
Unlicensed activities.
Right. Is Attorney General.
Yes.
And who is the other? The commissioner?
The commissioner.
Okay, so the Attorney General can
The
put you
Department
in
of Real Estate.
Yeah, so guys, hear this out. Maybe it opens you up to lawsuits, but it might protect you from the Attorney General. Think about it, right? I'd rather get slapped in the face by the commissioner of real estate than slapped in the face by the Attorney General, because one of them is going to have metal on their wrist.
What are you seeing right now? What do you think 2025?
Oh gosh, I think we're gonna have a really good year. I think that people have been now they're getting off the fence. I think that's very exciting. I think, you know, our biggest challenge right now is affordability, and we're doing a lot of things in the co-living space to help on the affordability side. But that's our biggest challenge. I think we're gonna have a great year.
I agree.
All signs are pointing in the very positive direction.
If people are in Arizona and they need a really good title company,
Email titletalk@fnf.com. I'm happy to help.
what was that?
Titletalk@fnf.com.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Dina.
Love you, Dina.
Hey!
Thank
Thanks for
you.
being born.
Thank you. I'm grateful I was born.
So Zach, it's true, and yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on how
Give
you're
me
looking
one
at
of
it.
them chains. Why you guys get to wear them big ass chains? Give me that one. Look at these. Look at these guys. These guys didn't
There's
get.
some
Did they see?
disclosure.
Did they see these? This is ridiculous. Not two. I just need one.
I'll have one.
All right. Give.
There, we'll do it like you just.
There we go.
Now you're gonna have the money too.
Oh yeah. There we go.
Here we go.
Damn.
Thank you guys for participating. If you guys have any questions,
Hi,
in
I'm
here.
the short sale king. Oh, not too soon. No. Oh shoot. Okay. Come on,
I mean,
guys.
you
I'm
can.
just- Too soon. Nobody's even laughing at it, or nobody gets it.
what do you think of this? You're deceiving people when you get your license if you're wholesaling because you're not acting transactionally.
I don't think that's English.
No. No, I mean, listen, if you have a license and you're making offers for yourself, you're the buyer.
I think he means you're not acting as a fiduciary.
Correct. Yeah, you're not acting as a fiduciary because you're your own fiduciary.
Yeah.
You're making your offers for yourself. And so yeah, I mean there's some of that, but I think getting a real estate license far outweighs the pros, far outweigh the cons. I really do. And as you see more regulations that are requiring a license to be able to assign purchase agreements, I mean, there's been a major slowdown in that. I think that there's just more bigger fish that these states need to fry. But as it goes on, and as popularity of wholesaling will naturally come back, I think we're down 75-80% of wholesalers that we were in the height of 2021. I really do, or 2022, I should say. I think a lot will come back into it, and then you'll just see more regulations. But I think the pullback from a lot of wholesalers that didn't build the skills, didn't build the relationships with cash buyers, didn't really build any systems into their business, relied on all text message marketing, relied on all of these, hey, push a button and it'll do all the lead generation for you, and didn't build the foundation of actually having good quality conversations. They evaporated like they always do. They always do. And I think that as they come back, there's going to be more push to get people licensed because, one, it's a money grab, and two, it's just it's going to be something that agents are going to complain about. And when it gets complained about, they're going to push to make you one of them. And so
I think at the end of the day,
there's a difference between being licensed and being a realtor, by the way.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Okay. To your point, there will always be a fancy piece of technology that will make things easy, that will disconnect human from human.
Yeah.
And those pieces of technology will always come, and they will find their way out. And, they'll work for a little while and then they'll stop working. But the reality is that nothing is ever going to be as powerful as human to human connection.
Yeah.
And as we see more AI, as we get more robocalls from AI, as we start interacting with more social media pages that are AI, as you start getting to a point, and I think in the next couple of years, we'll have a real question of wondering, is this a real human or not? Am I talking to a real person? I think people are already feeling that when they get a text message. I think that we're just at the precipice of that. And I think in a couple of years, that'll become the norm. And like all pendulum swings, they go the other direction. Mm-hmm. And so there will be a time when human connection will be the gold standard of business, when a handshake will mean something again, mm-hmm. where actual ink on a contract will mean something again. It means that you guys were in each other's presence and that the same document went between two live human beings and they used ink to sign it. And I think that will mean something again. I think it'll all mean something again. I think that we'll find and start rejecting electronic means to do things because it won't hold the same value and it won't hold the same weight. And it opens us up to so much fraud and misuse and abuse. And we'll start rejecting it. And they'll start saying, you know what? Back to the pen. Mm-hmm. Back to the handshake, mm-hmm. back to the face-to-face interaction.
Well, it's interesting. Remember, customer service used to be like press 1 and go to this, and it's another robot that's like press 2 and you go to this, and press 3 and do this and plug in that. And then they went back to live people.
Yeah.
Right. There's so much complaints about customer service with these like loops that you get in with robots that it went back to, hiring whatever, whether they be, somewhere else around the world or whatever, is a real human that you were talking to. And that was a big change. And so it's really interesting. It's really, really, really interesting. I think that the realtors actually are going to have a real big issue with these virtual agents, with these AI agents, where they're taking the top agents and they're just answering 500 questions about real estate, 1,000 questions about real estate, putting it into an AI, and you pay $79 to buy a house. It's wild. Yeah. They're answering all the questions that you would have. What is a good offer for this? It's been listed this many days. It has this many, no offers. It's in this condition, and it'll have responses that an agent will give you, the advice an agent would give you, a top agent in the area. Same with attorneys, I'm sure. It's going to be wild. It's going to be really, really wild. But I'll tell you what, buying houses, it's the spot to be at.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, you're still going to need humans to do a lot of the things, right? They're anything that I think is still going to be that'll still require people will have a tremendous amount of value in the coming days. I still never going to let a robot cut my hair, so barbershops will do fine.
What are you going to do for your birthday?
I'm going to Miami.
What?
Yeah,
dog.
So Brian Warfield, one of my great buddies. He produces all of the music for Janae Aiko, an R&B star that I absolutely adore. And so the plan is to get together, have dinner with Janae, go to her show, and have a great night.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's my birthday.
Nice.
It'll be great.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well,
doing some celeb stuff.
Well, listen, everybody said happy birthday to you. We love you. We're going to cut this a little bit short so that we can enjoy some cake, some, what is that, a strawberry shortcake?
That's my jam.
Come on.
I like a strawberry shortcake.
Who does it? If you don't like strawberry shortcake, you're a communist. You know what I'm saying? That is delicious. Anyway.
You said Rahima made it?
Rahima made it.
Rahima made it? For real?
With love.
Is she still here? I need to look her in her eyes and ask her.
She's gone.
She's gone.
All right, guys, we love you. We'll see you next week on Wholesale Hotline. What do you got this week? Do you have anything live going on, or you're doing your birthday?
I'm doing my birthday.
Right.
I will see you guys all in a week.
Awesome, guys. Wednesday, I will be going live at noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Brent Daniels YouTube channel. Make sure, guys, that if you're not subscribed, go to Jamil Damji's YouTube channel, hit subscribe. Make sure you go to mine, Brent Daniels. Make sure you go to Pace Morby, and make sure you go to Jerry Norton, the Flipping Mastery. Check them all out. Subscribe to all of them. Between those four, forget about it. You got everything that you need to go out there and take massive, imperfect action. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Boom.
Bye.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.